All right, welcome back. Another episode of the Consistency Engine, hosted by myself, Dane Patton, and my good friend Chase Collier. We're welcome back to the Bats to Rats studio.
Yes, back here in the Bat Cave. So, got a fun episode for everyone today on discipline. And discipline is one of those things that a lot of people talk about, but they don't necessarily live, is probably the best way to say it. Discipline is something that comes up in so many different aspects of life. It's not just one thing. It's not cut and dry. And one of the things that I've kind of learned and heard all the time that I've been getting and growing in business is discipline is what is here when motivation fades. A lot of people wait for the motivation. They wait for this right moment to get going. Instead, figure out how to become disciplined and train yourself for that. So whether you're motivated or not, the action still continues. And to me, that's kind of my basis of discipline.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what you're saying there about discipline, and you know I try to think back to the earlier version of me, and yeah, the motivation faded, but I needed that motivation to start. I needed to see that there was other people that was accomplishing things that I thought that I could accomplish, and that kind of got me motivated. It kind of inspired me a little bit, so I could start doing the work, and whether it's starting a business or growing your family or getting in better shape, like all of that stuff requires a different level of discipline. But also, I needed to see other people doing it, and that way I could craft that vision for myself of how I was capable of getting that result too. So I do believe that, but I do believe that motivation does have a little bit. We always need a little bit of rah. I don't wake up in the morning every day excited to do the things, but I've built discipline inside my life that it's just how I operate now. But that didn't happen overnight. That was something it took a long time to develop.
Yeah. Previously, we said the statement of motivation is the byproduct of action, and I think that's great to bring back up in this episode about discipline, because there's two forms of motivation. It's either external from somebody else, and when we all started our journeys, we probably watched YouTube, listened to podcasts, friends or family doing the things that made us motivated to get started. And that is great. That's a great spot to start to get that rah piece. But as you start in your journey and start being disciplined and see those results, now it's internal motivation. And I don't know about you, but it is very hard for people to break my internal motivation from the things that I have done. It hits a little bit different.
Oh yeah, of course. I have a coach that kind of talks about he equates, living life in like you're in a high-rise hotel. And he's like, every morning he wakes up in the lobby, and sometimes in the basement, and he wants to get to that penthouse. And so he said he wakes up like that, and then he has to do different things to go up those stairs or go up that elevator to get to that penthouse. And it really, it kind of put it in perspective for me. It's not every day do I feel like I'm on top of this world when I wake up. I want to get to that point almost every single day, but what do we have to do to get there? Well, it's understanding, okay, how am I fueling myself? Am I staying hydrated? Am I practicing gratitude? A lot of these small daily things that we talk about lead to having that discipline in your life. I know we joke about, donuts and pastries and stuff like that. And that's a discipline that I've had to create over time. Is I would love to smash that stuff all the time, anytime I see it. But I have a discipline that knows that, okay, that's not going to feed the vision of who I want to be. And I know if I limit that, then I'm going to feel better and I can accomplish more. Like that's just that's just a little part of the discipline that I kind of think about and kind of relate to the fitness side. But I also, especially having you here, I want to talk about a little bit of financial discipline. I think that would be something good that doesn't get talked about enough.
Yes.
When it comes, like we talk a lot about health and wellness and fitness when it comes to discipline, but financial discipline is something super important.
For most people that I see, the fitness piece, the personal development piece of discipline is almost easier for them than the financial side. And it could kind of revolve around a few different things, but when you get financial discipline and you figure out how to budget your expenses and your income and create your PFS, which is your personal financial statement, great scorecard to take a look at every 3 to 6 months. But when you start that budgeting process and start saving, like, it is not instant. And when you compare it to fitness, like, you can do some awesome things in 1 to 3 months when you are diligent about it. You see results fairly quickly, where on the financial side of things, it could be 12 months, it could be 24 months before you start seeing kind of that light at the end of the tunnel, or the start of that accelerated growth that most people are looking for. And it really comes down to your discipline of needs versus wants and what you are okay doing. And like kind of how Dane talked about eating a donut, he's not going to do it. He's not going to have a drink of alcohol because of his future self. And growing up, like, I don't know what was inside my mind that I was as much of a penny pincher from as far back as I can remember. But like, I learned about compound interest on your money. I learned about opportunity cost at a very young age. And this is a true story, but at one of my high school jobs, I was working at the local Dairy Queen. And this is the first time gas became $4 a gallon, like in 2008, roughly. And I was making under $6 an hour, but I would figure out my post-tax hourly rate.
Of course you did.
And when I tried to make a decision of, hey, can I afford to go out to eat or go fill up on gas or buy a stereo for my car because I was a boy in high school, I would equate it to how many hours of post-tax dollars do I have to work for this one thing. And getting that granular with things gives you a different perspective on how much that money is worth. Is it something that takes 1 hour of your work week to buy whatever? Does it take 20 to 40 hours? Like, what sort of time commitment are you giving to have this reward? And is this reward needed or not? And just at a young age, again, don't know what was in my head, but I'm like, I want to start saving. I want to start saving now, because I know the sooner I can do this, the sooner there will be financial or time freedom later.
Yeah, I think that's great information, and definitely something I wanted to bring up when we talk about this, because like I said before, I think that's part of it that gets lost, is people see the physical changes that discipline can bring. We all see the David Goggins of the world, that when you think of discipline, you think of that kind of discipline. But I think some of this disciplines in the background, like having the mental discipline and having financial discipline, and I think I forget where I heard it, but like, human beings are the only beings on this planet that understand delayed gratification. And because everything else is an animal, and they want the immediate results. And the more that the time goes on, I think a lot fewer amount of people understand what delayed gratification is, and I think a lot of that comes to do with financial discipline.
Yes, delayed gratification is something that I drilled down on when somebody is new to business, or they got a promotion, or they have come into money. And whether you're starting out or you're increasing your income, it's very important to talk about delayed gratification, because if your income increases 10%, you should not go out and increase your lifestyle by 10%. Like, the longer you can keep your lifestyle the same house, same groceries, same expenses that you had, and not inflate your lifestyle, the sooner you're going to get to that financial goal. And the downfall is when I see people that have done well or got that promotion and they go out and buy a $50,000 truck, or they move into a house that's twice as expensive. And when I talk about opportunity cost, like, delayed gratification and opportunity cost kind of go hand in hand. If you can save $1,000 a month instead of inflating your lifestyle, how much is that $1,000 a month every month for as long as you can keep delaying your gratification going to compound in 3 to 5 years?
Yeah, it's incredible stuff. The exponential growth that you can get in the compound effect and all that kind of stuff, and that stuff equates so much to fitness too. And like you were talking about, you show up in the gym, you might see some small results, but if you're in the gym for years upon years, it starts to compound on itself. When you start, you're at this level, but then you can keep pushing, you can keep growing, you can keep getting stronger. And equating those things, like I've said past in these episodes, like, I learned so much about life from the gym, and a lot of the things that I've taken away, it's like, oh man, they just relate so well to so many different principles in our life.
Yeah. So I'm on the fitness side, like on just discipline and delayed gratification, is you don't have to say no to everything that's put in front of you. Like, there's people I know that will sit down on the couch and eat an entire pack of Oreos. It is okay to eat a Oreo. It is not okay to eat an entire pack.
Yeah.
And if you can start kind of restricting things, it helps build the discipline, but you still get that reward. And if you're at a conference or traveling or somewhere, brought in pizza for lunch, like, you can have a slice of pizza, but you shouldn't have the whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Having that personal discipline and knowing that it goes back to a little bit of like the values that we talked about, like how I live my life and what I value. And I've been that person. I mean, I was the person, we just got done with Girl Scout cookie season. I used to buy boxes of Girl Scout cookies, and that's what I ate for lunch. I'd eat a whole box of Girl Scout cookies when I was driving around the truck. I didn't have any kind of discipline inside of my life of how I wanted to feel or how I wanted to show up physically or and then what I started to realize once I started, when I think being restrictive has like a negative connotation. It's more about replacing than restricting. Understanding that if I eat something different and not that choice, then I'm going to get a different result from it. And I had to look at who I was and who I was becoming, and I was like, I need a different result than this. So what do I have to replace? Well, that replaced eating the worst kinds of food out there, the ultra processed stuff, and I wanted. I've talked plenty of times about how I couldn't get my laundry and go up the stairs without being out of breath. And I was like, that's not the result that I want. Like, if that's happening to me now in my early to mid 30s, like, what's going to happen when I'm 60? Like, I won't be able to carry my laundry. I won't even be able to live in a house that has stairs. Like, what does that future version of you look like? So, and that's how I've been able to craft disciplines inside my life, and just from the experience that I've had, and then realizing this isn't where I want to be, this isn't who I want to be, this isn't the example I want to be for my family, and then just living by it.
Yeah. It comes down to the core value piece, which we've previously talked about. But are you being disciplined on your core values, or are you just saying them to look like your core values? you have to act on those, and there's so much discipline that is required to not vary from those. And when you say the restrictive piece of it, like this goes to all the different aspects of discipline, financial, fitness, mindset. Like when it comes to financial restrictive discipline, you can still be saving, but still have fun. Like one of the things my wife and I made kind of tradition was going to happy hour sushi. When we started doing okay and having corporate jobs before business, it's like we can't go have fancy dinners, but we can afford happy hour sushi. But we also didn't go out to eat more than once every other week. So like you can still find ways to have fun and be intentional with being restrictive. One of the questions that I just thought of for the fitness side is water intake. Like a lot of people struggle with drinking water. And it's a conversation people have asked me multiple times. How do you drink 1.5 gallons plus of water a day? And I'm like, because I do. Like it's just the discipline that I've built. When I wake up in the morning, before I do anything, I drink water. I have the water I drink at the gym. I have a timer on my phone. Like any of those little tasks that can help make you more disciplined, there's ways to do it.
Oh yeah, hey, when that was like I've said plenty of times before, during my health transformation, drinking a gallon of water was probably one of the hardest things to do. I mean, and I hear people all the time, oh, I drink so much water and this and that, and I'm like, I drink so much water, and I know how difficult it is, and I also learned how I like. What are the things that I had to do in my life to be able to make it second nature? And these systems that I had to, and these processes that I had to develop to be able to accomplish that small task, drinking a gallon of water, 8 16-ounce glasses every single day. And now anytime you see me walking around, I usually have a gallon jug. It's actually sitting behind the camera right now. And it's with me because it's always top of mind. Like I always see it. I'm always taking drinks out of it because I know that this is, I need to accomplish this every single day. So in at the beginning, it was difficult, and I had to put some flavor drops in my water because a full gallon of non-flavored anything was hard to do. And I like to have coffee, and I still drink at least 1 cup of coffee in the morning, but I had to give up sodas, and I didn't really ever drink pop. I stopped drinking pop when I was in high school, but I used to drink a lot of energy drinks or Gatorades and Body Armors and stuff like that. So I had to give up that stuff to drink more water, and I put some flavor drops in it. I started with Mio, but then I realized there was a lot of artificial dyes and stuff like that in there.
40.
So yeah, but I mean, we all have to start somewhere. Like there was 0 calories in it, but yeah, it had some chemicals in it, and that got me to a point where I could drink a lot of it because it was sweetened and all that kind of stuff. And then there was stir flavor drops, and those are much more healthier for you. And now I just raw dog a gallon of water with no flavor in it, and it's super easy to do now. But I built the discipline over little tweaks and little changes to be able to do that.
So one of the things I want to talk on with discipline is time management. And one of the things that came to mind is back when we were all in school growing up, elementary through high school or college, for those who went, whether you were in sports or not, you had a schedule. You had stuff to do at certain times, whether you were mentally present in class, that was up to you. But there was so much in our upbringing that taught us about discipline and the importance of time blocking on things. And Dane and I are both huge advocates on time blocking. There's time for the gym in my phone every day. If my wife and I ever have plans at night, that's in there because family time is just as important. But whether it's budgeting or financial prep and going to the gym and reading and meditation, those are all things that take discipline, but they should be in your calendar because they are important. And if they are not in there or you're not tracking them, they're not important enough to you to have the discipline to continue.
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of times when you hear the excuses from people of why they can't work out. And it's because their family, they got kids, they're busy, and they give you all of these reasons why they can't do it. But when you actually look at those reasons that they can't do it, those are the exact reasons why you should be focused on your health. And instead of thinking that these are excuses of why you can't do something, realizing these are the reasons why I need to stay healthy and why I need to show up the best version of myself. And then so once you understand that, and it's not, well, I can't make, I'm too busy and I don't have enough time. It's how do you make time? What's going on in your life that you can replace. We can restrict how much time we watch TV. We can restrict how much time we're scrolling on social media. That those kinds of things, or and I like to habit stack a lot of things too. And it just, I'm driving. I'm usually trying to educate myself, listening to audiobooks or listening to podcasts of good information, and just like, okay, I'm always trying to do something that it's a healthy habit, or I'm growing, or something like that. And I time block my schedule. So who's most important in my life? I make sure they're on my schedule. We've talked about this plenty of times, like, going on a date with my wife like once a week. We've been trying to do that, since this year began. Like last year, we were doing it fairly well, and then the boys had different things going on, and we allowed that excuse to creep in, and it was like, well, we're too busy and stuff's going on. And it's like, no, we got to get re-locked in. And so, for the last, I don't know how many weeks we're in here now, 4 or 5, 6 weeks, yeah. We've been going on a date every single week, because that's important. That relationship is important to me. And we spend huge amounts of time with our kids, but how much time are we spending with our significant other, our spouse, and actually having conversation? Lots of times we communicate, but we're not necessarily having a conversation about, what really matters. So that's been huge in my life is making time for that and really being present with it. So,
well, one thing to add on that piece exactly with relationships and people in your life is just because you are in the same room at the same time does not mean you are spending quality time together. And in today's world with technology, with cell phones, laptops, and if you're somebody that does have your business, like we work, quote unquote, all of the time. But if you're on your phone when you are having that family time, you're not spending quality time. You're not being disciplined enough to show that you care. And it's very important to carve out some time and just put your stuff on Do Not Disturb and be present.
Yeah, I mean, even like this podcast, for a couple of years, Jason and I have talked about it, of wanting to do something like this. But it wasn't until recently we're like, okay, we got to stop making these excuses, and we got to take ownership of, we got to put it on our calendars. We've got to show up, and we've got to do it, because this is important, because these things that we talk about, if we just kept this information between the two of us all the time, we're living great lives. We're going to continue to live great lives. But I want more for other people out there. And this is a platform where we can share these ideas and these thoughts and interact with other people and put it out there, because there's somebody out there that needs to hear these things. And I even, like with time management inside my business, like I had to understand that too. I tried to do everything all the time, every single day. And we talk about time, and then we talk about energy. I can have more time, but if I don't have the energy, so if I was trying to do everything in my business and then I come home and I have no energy for the people that matter the most in my life, like I had to make some changes. So we put this on our schedule on the day that we record. I go out in the field and help guys certain days of the week. I open up Thursdays for one-to-ones for people, and that's the only day I really ever do one-to-ones is on Thursdays, because I had to get intentional with my time and say, okay, if I go on a sales meeting, if I go on a 1-to-1, if I'm on an inspection, if I'm trying to do P&L stuff, run office meetings, all at the same time, it takes a different version of energy from me. And so I started blocking everything off, and man, the amount that I can get done goes back to that capacity issue. And then when I get home, I still have great energy for my family too.
Yeah, that's awesome that you're in tune with that, because just the energy side of it is so important. You can be present but have no energy to interact. One thing on the discipline side that you kind of hit is we can get very good about being disciplined about our actions and our choices to make those actions, but one of the hardest things to get disciplined about is saying no. And for example, on that, like on my health journey, on my business journey, I've never been a big partier. I've never been that big into sports. And whenever I was in college and it was like, hey, there's a big game on today, let's all go drink or go do something, I'm like, no, I have studying to do. No, I need to go do this thing. I'm trying to better myself. Like, being able to say no to some of those temptations that are out there is sometimes harder than you time blocking and putting the actions in. Because when you time block and put the action in, it's on you, you're doing the work, you're making a difference for yourself. But when those other people ask you questions, you don't want to make them sad or upset at you. And it kind of goes back to those core value piece of, this is the foundation and these are the barriers I've built to protect myself, and you have to have the discipline to respect those.
Yeah, I can 100% relate to that, because I was the person that hosted football parties and spent so much of my time involved and engaged in watching sports, and I'd sit at the bar all day on a Sunday watching football. And it's funny how as we're on this personal growth transformation, this journey that we talk about, how things change and how you start to see things differently, and how things that you thought were always going to be important to you really aren't that meaningful after you get your priorities and your purpose and your why, and then you're making decisions based on those things. We're from Lincoln, Nebraska. Husker football was a big thing growing up here.
Go Big Red.
And I was a diehard Husker football fan through and through. My entire basement was filled with Husker stuff, and I never thought that was going to be like anything different. I thought I was always going to be this giant Husker football fan. And in the last 5 to 10 years, as well, the team kind of isn't great, but the last 5 years, especially as I've been developing and wanting more and showing up in different ways, I realized that the time that I spent, associated and doing that kind of stuff would serve me better doing something else. And I've really kind of distanced myself from that. Now, if the game's on, okay, I'll still see it, but it is not. I'm not spending 3 to 4 hours of my time every Saturday during football season to sit in front of the TV all the time. Like, if it's on and we're doing something, great. If I can be engaged with other people or working towards something, that's great. But it's not like that's not everything that I have to do on a weekend during football season. And some people will think that's crazy. And quite frankly, me 15 years ago would think that was crazy. But the new version of me, I definitely I don't get pulled in and wrapped up in like I used to.
One of the things that'd be great to hit on, I know we're getting close to the end of the episode, but we've talked about financial fitness, mindset, discipline a little bit, but a great point to run off of for that is emotional discipline. And I'm kind of the same way, like grew up around watching Husker football because that's what we do. But I kind of made the statement and decision in my head that whether win or lose, whether it's Huskers, any other sport, anything on TV, I still have to go to work. I still have business to run. It does not make a difference in my income. And the people that get so emotionally invested in sports, and there's so many other categories, I'm not just going to classify it as sports, but when you let your emotional discipline go to the side, Like, it impacts a lot of things. Your sports team loses a game and then you're upset for the next 3 days, or you're upset until the next game, and then you win and it's up here for emotion. Like, figure out how to regulate the emotion for the things that are important, that are part of your core values, that are part of the goals and things you're trying to align with. If it's something out of your control, do not put the energy and the emotion into it.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing is control what you can control. And we can control our effort, we can control our attitude, and we can control our emotions and how we react to things. And I take, I was that same person when it came to, when they won football games or when they lost football games. But I also think about, me being a young parent and how I was raising my sons, and understanding that my emotion, my kids are never going to know how much I worry about if we have enough money. My kids are never going to worry or know how much I worry about if I have enough time with them, or we're doing the right things. But they are going to remember how I made them feel. And that comes back to the emotions that I share with them, and how I react to how, whatever they're doing. And I think as a parent, and I see other parents, like we forget about that kind of stuff, and how we can regulate our emotions and how we respond to them, and how we show up and act. It matters. And I think that's a big thing in our society these days is you see people that aren't emotionally regulated, and they don't have discipline in it, and they just fly off the seat of their pants, and they don't think about the things that they say in front of their children, to other people, stuff like that. And like taking a pause and listening to what somebody says, and then not necessarily listening to react, but listen, absorb it, and then figure out how you need to react to it. And that's been something that I think has become a superpower for me. And I actually just talked about like stress management recently, and I think that has a lot to do with it too. Is how do you deal with stress? Well, how well are you at regulating your emotions, and can you stay calm when there's pressure? Because as we both progress in life, and anybody, when you're on a journey of growth, and you're going to unlock new levels of stress. And when you unlock those new levels of stress, are you emotionally regulated and disciplined enough to take it in and then make a decision based on those values that you have, and not how it makes you feel in the moment? Because what do they say about facts and feelings? Neither one care about the other. Feelings don't care about facts. Facts don't care about feelings. So trying to separate, and I know you do a good job of this too. You pull facts out, and you keep feelings out of business a lot of times. And can that necessarily, maybe sometimes that might hurt us in our personal relationship at home from time to time. But I would tell you, it definitely it helps, and has put me at a different level than I thought that I could be, just because of me taking that pause and listening, and not trying to react, but trying to come up with a solution.
It's all about solutions, and whether it's a business discussion or an argument with friends and family, like, there is a solution to it. And like Dane said, I am a very logical, analytical, factual thinker. I always joke with people that business does not have emotion. It's the people in the business that do. And we need to respect the emotions of our staff, of our business partners, but business decisions should not be made off of emotion. And when I've seen that happen, when people do make those decisions off of emotion, it normally doesn't end well. And you have to absorb the information you're getting. You have to understand if wherever it's coming from, if it's somebody else that's emotional about it, are they giving you the real facts, or are they acting off of emotion? And it's a very kind of tightrope to walk, but it's so important to base the decisions off of facts and logic. As soon as emotions start getting pulled into it, it's very hard to deal with, and it's baggage that you are going to take home which then affects your family. And it takes time and discipline and consistency to build that muscle. But when you can start compartmentalizing the emotional aspect that comes in business and fitness growth, like it will be a blessing for you. And it's not easy to do in the beginning, but it's a muscle you learn how to use.
Yeah. So here at the end of this episode, I'd say, take one discipline that maybe you feel like is a weakness inside your life right now, whether that's your emotional discipline, your financial, your fitness, mindset, something like that. Take one of those things and start working on that one thing. Like we've talked about here, discipline does not show up overnight. Like, you don't just wake up and you're this disciplined version of yourself. It takes time. It takes small little changes, and you have to build these habits to become that person that lives a disciplined life. So find one that you feel is like a weakness right now, and then make some intentional choices to work towards that.
Yeah. And find motivation if you need to, but also a big thing that could help is find an accountability partner. Whether that's a spouse, a parent, good friend, a business partner, if you can have somebody that will keep you accountable, it will go so much further faster. The other day I was talking to somebody and he said his best friend and him FaceTime at 4:30 every morning to make sure they're awake and doing the stuff that they said they're going to do. And if you can surround yourself with people like that, it will make an amazing difference to you. And time blocking, that's another thing. If you know the discipline, you need to be better at it. Just put it in your calendar.
Yeah, put it in your calendar. That's a great one. So, once again, this was the Consistency Engine podcast. My name's Dane. This is Chase. We're happy that you tuned in, listened here, and we'll have plenty of more of these coming up. Thank you.